Hey there, fellow CEOs. It's Carol Lee again, back with some insight on what burnout and traditions have in common. At first glance, they might seem worlds apart. However, a closer look reveals a surprising connection. So let's start with looking at the textbook definitions to dig really deep first. All right, burnout, state of mental, physical, and emotional exhaustion that's caused by prolonged stress. So some symptoms of burnout may be feeling overwhelmed and unable to meet demands, losing interest and motivation, having a reduced sense of accomplishment, having difficulty focusing, having trouble sleeping, having a negative attitude towards your job, and there's so many more. So let's look at the definition of tradition. A way of thinking, behaving, or doing something that has been used by the people in a particular group, family, society, etc., for a long time. So it's the way we've always done it. So think about your traditions. Where do they come from? Why do you do them? Now that we know the textbook definitions, let's dive deeper into what they have in common. Again, at first glance, they might seem worlds apart. However, a closer look reveals a surprising connection, and that connection is the power of routine. So, traditions, by their very nature, are routines. They're familiar patterns that provide comfort and structure. Similarly, when we're not careful, our work routines can become monotonous and draining, leading us into burnout. So, while routines can be helpful, they can also be harmful if they become rigid and inflexible. If we're constantly pushing ourselves to meet deadlines, responding to emails, and attending meetings without taking breaks or changing our routine, we're setting ourselves up for burnout. Just as it's important to maintain healthy traditions, it's equally important to break unhealthy ones. If a particular tradition is causing you stress or anxiety, don't be afraid to let it go. So, to avoid burnout, it's essential to create healthy routines that support your well being. This might involve setting boundaries, which is limiting work hours and taking regular breaks, for example. Could be practicing self care, like engaging in activities that you enjoy. Can be prioritizing tasks, focusing on the most important tasks and delegating or postponing the less urgent ones. By understanding the connection between burnout and traditions, we can take steps to create a more harmonious and fulfilling life. And so, the power of breaking the tradition is where we're going to jump into next, okay? And so, sometimes the best way to avoid burnout is to actually break that tradition, okay? It doesn't mean abandoning all of your cherished traditions, but rather being open to change and flexibility. By challenging the status quo, you can create new traditions that better serve your needs and promote well being. And so the holiday season is a prime time to reflect on our work life balance. It's a chance to pause, recharge, and reevaluate our priorities. By setting boundaries and prioritizing self care, we can actually avoid burnout and enjoy the festive season to the fullest. And so, the biggest thing I learned when it came to traditions is that you are your own person and you and your immediate family get to choose what traditions make sense for you to continue and what ones just don't align. That was some tough conversations to have with some family members at times. So, a few years ago, I was so caught up in the hustle that I neglected my own well being. I was constantly working long hours, sacrificing sleep, neglecting my personal life, and so much more. And as a result, I experienced burnout, which manifested as physical exhaustion, brain fog, and a general sense of apathy. It was a huge wake up call. I realized that I needed to make some significant changes to not only my lifestyle, but my business as a whole. I started setting boundaries, prioritizing self care, and learning to say no to additional commitments. I also implemented many time management techniques to increase my productivity and reduce my stress levels. So, life will always be changing and throwing you curveballs. So, it's essential to evaluate your capacity regularly to avoid burnout. I've learned that it's essential to listen to my body and my mind and to take breaks when needed. By prioritizing my well being, I've become more productive, more creative for sure, and more fulfilled. And that has had a direct reflection on my business, but also my personal life. And so, here are some practical tips for avoiding burnout. And the first tip here is going to be setting realistic goals. And this just comes with not overloading yourself with too many commitments. We're going to the very baseline here. The second tip on avoiding burnout is taking regular breaks. And that's like stepping away from work and engaging in activities you enjoy, even if you feel like you don't deserve a break. This is super huge and can actually make you more productive when you take regular breaks. I know this, I've experienced this. The third tip on avoiding burnout is prioritizing sleep. So ensure you're getting enough quality sleep to recharge your body and your mind, because without sleep, we're not creative, we're not productive, and we're really draining every little ounce of energy out of us. The fourth tip for avoiding burnout is connecting with loved ones, whoever that may be. I want you to spend time with your family, your friends, and really grow to strengthen those relationships. And so, by actually implementing these strategies, this is a way that you can create a more balanced and then ultimately a more fulfilling life for you and the people around you, both during this holiday season, but also, let's just be real, throughout the entire year. These are not just things that you do during the holiday season, but they are usually much more important around the holiday season because there's so much more hustle and bustle and so many more things, commitments and things like that. So remember, the holidays are for a time for joy, but also a time for reflection. Okay. Holidays, the biggest holidays are towards the end of the year. And so it's a really good time to reflect on the year. It's a really good time to evaluate your work habits and your routines. Are you setting healthy boundaries? Are you prioritizing your own well being? So that way you can also be there for others, those other people that you want to support and things like that. So just as we cherish our family traditions, right, especially around the holiday season, we need to also cultivate these positive work traditions, right? Like taking breaks and setting realistic goals, right? This might involve like literally setting specific work hours, right? Taking regular breaks or establishing a clear separation between work and personal life. And personally, I need to work on the clear separation between work and personal life. But we are getting there, baby steps. I'm going to keep going until I get there. And so, by understanding the connection between burnout and traditions, we can actually take a step to create a more balanced and fulfilling life, right? And that is ultimately our goal, both professionally and personally. So, remember the deep connection between burnout and traditions is the power of a routine, right? The patterns that come from traditions, but the patterns that also lead to burnout. And so, by understanding this connection, right, you're able to really break free of some of these things that are holding you back. So, I ask you this: what are your favorite work and holiday traditions? And what are maybe some of them that you actually need to, not have anymore? I want you to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments, and let's inspire each other to create a more harmonious and joyful life free of burnout. All right, until next time, I hope you have an amazing holiday season, and we'll see you next week.